so let us kick off with Meg 2 The Trench. Sharon, tell us about Meg 2 The Trench.
Meg 2 is a direct sequel to The Meg,
Yeah.
which came out, I think, was it 2 or 3 years ago now?
Yes, I think it was
Yes, and it's a.
it was just before the lock. It was just before COVID, wasn't it?
It must have been, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it must have been. So yeah, maybe we're looking at sort of 3 years then. And it is a sort of, I think it must be a sort of Chinese collaboration because
It is.
there's a lot of sort of Chinese actors in it, and a lot of the dialogue is in Chinese. So it obviously appeals to that sort of dual sort of cultures really. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's set in sort of like above some of the deepest trenches in the world, where in the last film they discovered that there's like the sea floor is not the sea floor, it's actually just a layer, and that if you get through this layer and there's like another world below that which is inhabited by a lot of prehistoric dinosaur-y type creatures that have survived all the various or cataclysms that have affected the sort of the surface world. So underneath this sort of like thermal layer, there's a pressurized area below the sea floor as we know it, where megalodon, bitey things, giant things, and sort of creatures that you
Mega
don't really
shark,
want to
giant
meet.
octopus.
Yes, all those things that you don't really want to meet when you're paddling in the sea will come up and sort of go surprise.
Chomp, chomp, chomp.
Yeah. So this is where they have discovered this underworld thing, and during the last adventure, megalodon came up and chomped its way around, and it brought a baby with it, and they have kept this baby, and they're trying to basically examine this sort of how this sort of megalodon works, how its brain works, as in trying to see if they can train it. Can it be, almost like acclimatized to the modern world? Can it be, has it got a place? So, and whilst they're doing this, they're developing all this technology so they can explore this new part of the world that they didn't previously know existed.
Yeah.
And they've developed these sort of suits that can exist. They're like in Alien, Ripley picks up all these this sort of exoskeleton
exoskeletons,
type thing,
yeah.
But it's like an exoskeleton that's sort of body shaped, but it has like an enclosed hands and head. But you have this huge power within it that you can move things and touch things and do things, amazing things. So they have developed this technology, and they are bit by bit they're exploring. They're doing different zones and they're exploring this underworld world where all these megalodon in their natural habitat live. But something goes wrong.
Yeah, I have to say, just before you carry it, I have to say, I admire how much guff they come up with in these films to excuse the bitey, shooty, blowy, uppy action.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole series of books.
Yes, so they're like a stack of books, aren't there?
I have read all of them as well.
It's on my to-be-read list, I think. Having watched a couple of them, I'm thinking, I know what this is about. I'm going to just read these. Because they're just enormous fun.
They are more complicated books than the films, but arguably that's not very difficult.
Yeah. But there is like a bad guy element to this. Like the bad guys are doing something nefarious down there. That goes wrong. The teenage adopted daughter of the Jason Statham's character, she was orphaned in the last film, and he's sort of now co-raising her with her uncle. She's a Chinese girl, and she's being co-raised by Jason Statham and her Chinese uncle. So she is growing up with the two of them. And she decides that it's time that she's now sort of 14, that she wants to go down on one of the deep sea dives just to sort of experience it herself. And that and that what could possibly go wrong. And because they've had 30 dives without incident, why can't she go with them? And so she goes with them, and then obviously chaos ensues. And because of this chaos ensues, they meet bad guys, stuff happens. And then this rift is torn in the ceiling of this underground ocean, and a load of Megs and something we sort of get a glimpse of escape into our world. And so, fleeing bad guys, they then escape to the nearest island, which happens to be called Fun Island, because it's where everyone goes to have their holidays and run around in their bathers.
I thought you were about to say Shark Island, because everything we've heard so far is not on the nose enough.
I know. Yeah, but Fun Island. So at Fun Island, it becomes anything but fun. Well, apart from us who are watching it, because these sort of prehistoric, sort of bitey things from the depths decide that party time is happening at Fun Island, and then they're busy to sort of eat their way through most of the people there. Yeah, and a couple of the characters from the first film appear, like the lady who owns the little dog called Pippin, and so you still get the whole Pippin. That happened.
And then I have gone on record as to what I think about that dog, but and what I think should happen to that dog. I've gone on record.
Swim, Pippin, swim. Yeah, we know, we know what's going to happen. And then sort of bad guys do stuff, but basically, the bad guys are completely incidental. You want to see them fighting Megalodon. You want to see the Stay punching a Megalodon in the head, don't you? And the Megalodon rolling over and going, ow. That's what you want to see. And that's basically what happens. It's like, don't mess with me or my family. Not in those words, but it's like, the Stay is going to wrestle with the Megalodon, and the Stay is going to come out on top, looking a bit like the Stay, really. That one expression that basically is the same expression through the whole film. But you've got to love it.
I'm expecting that at some point in this film he crafts a saddle and rides a Megalodon like a horse.
Well, he rides a jet ski, and you have a jet ski Megalodon sort of race and faced off. It's like a medieval joust, because they have got sticky, pointy things.
Sticky harpoony things,
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so with this, I mean, you have very gamely tried to make this thing sound like it has a plot. And quite frankly, with this
sort of thing, care.
You do you don't
get
care.
On with the MEG action.
You don't care. I mean, and I think with the shark movie, which is I mean, I think we did a whole show where we just did shark movies.
Yeah.
We did a whole show where when we're doing a podcast called They Don't Make Them Like They Used to. There was one episode that was just about shark movies.
Yeah.
Well, with shark movies, obviously you have Jaws. Jaws is the specter that they're all in, and I think that the modern classic is Deep Blue Sea, which doesn't take itself too seriously, and it knows you came in here to see sharks fighting humans, biting them in half, and we're going to see what happens at the end. Whether eventually you want to see the humans win. Right? Normally you want to see the humans win, and then the shark goes away, blah, blah, blah. And that was Deep Blue Sea. And it's all about the execution. So it's not about the plot. It's about the execution of it. It's about whether they understand that they're a joke or whether they're taking themselves too seriously. So the question is, what was the execution of this like?
It was fun. It was as camp as a row of tents. In only that Jason Statham can be, that he's so masculine that it's almost like a caricature of himself.
Yeah, it imagines to be camp, but the kind of camp that would kick your head in if you looked at it wrong.
Yeah, so I think it was almost like perfectly executed. You have that perfect combination of these prehistoric sharks, a giant octopus. Not really. I don't think it's a spoiler because they're talking about anything from the depths of the sea, and there's got to be a giant something with suckers on it.
I'm pretty sure there was a giant octopus in the first film.
Yeah, there was.
I'm pretty sure there was a giant octopus. I mean, not that I remember much of it, but I'm pretty sure there was a bit where there's a giant octopus fighting a submarine. But
and at the beginning, there's a really good sort of like Jurassic Parky type bit where you sort of see, prehistory, these things, sort of the food chain, how it develops, and then you introduce these critters, that have, and then realizing that human beings are like the prey species rather than the apex predator in this world. So you see different people getting eaten in creative ways by bitey things, things with suckers and things with a lot of big teeth.
It's like, humans, you are the food. All right, okay. So okay, that's all well. And one more thing before we ask for the star rating on this, because I think we know what this film is. You know what this film is. It's a creature feature. No one's expecting anything much. But before we ask that, this is directed by Ben Wheatley. And I'm not sure if you recognize the name, but this is so far removed from anything he has ever done. Ben Wheatley is an indie darling. He did High Rise. He did Kill List. He did Free Fire. He did A Field in England. He did a film called In the Earth. These are all films that
nothing like this film.
Exactly. Nothing like this film. They are all low budget things that he put together with a band of people in his backyard. And and they get critically acclaimed, but they don't necessarily make much money.
Don't make any money. No.
They don't make much money, but they make. I think essentially he just wants to make enough money to allow him to make another film, and this is him essentially going, yeah, give me the budget. I want to go play. I want to go play that. Oh, he did the remake of Rebecca. He did the new version of Rebecca with Mia Wasikowska in it. Yeah, and yeah, and I just find that funny. I think that for me, that's actually the funniest thing about this film is like Ben Wheatley made the Meg. It's kind of like if you said Martin Scorsese directed a Marvel movie, but like, yeah. So, but okay. But anyway, with that being said, how did Ben Wheatley do? How many stars would you give this?
Yeah, it was a riot. It was fun. It was ridiculous. Some of the acting, you think, I'm not sure I entirely believe your motivation in this scene. And I think, am I entirely convinced that you're really fleeing from a prehistoric bitey thing? I'm not sure.
That is a step up from the first film, because there was some of the acting in the first film I was like, I'm not entirely sure you're human.
So yeah, I mean, some of it was a little bit broad, but I think they sort of played to their audience. So I thought it was fun. It was a riot. It was enjoyable, just to kick back, just to relax and watch it. The mayhem ensue. But it is a 3 film, because I don't know that the Meg could ever be more than a 3 film. No. But you can still be. It does what it's supposed to do. As a Meg film, it's good. It does what it was supposed to do. But yeah, I'd say it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's a bit of a riot. You don't care about some of the things where you're thinking, would that really happen? You don't really care.
You're like, we don't care.
And the Staith is indestructible, so perfect. What more could you want from a film? Still be a 3-star film. Yeah.
Yes, it's like a perfect 3-star. I feel like that's the kind of film that it can. If they did everything perfectly in this film, it would be a 3. Yeah. There's nothing you can do to elevate a film like this above a 3. And it's anyway. Sorry, Holly.
It is what it is, but it does it well, and it's fun.
It was so bad. One of those, it's so awful that it makes itself a 5 by being dreadful, but so delightfully dreadful in its dreadfulness. And I can't think of any that have done that recently.
No, some films are just. They're just so gloriously awful that you just revel in them, don't you? This does what it's supposed to do. It does what it was supposed to do. So, yeah, I can't fault it beyond other than it being a film about a giant megalodon eating Chinese tourists. On the whole, they didn't discriminate. They ate sort of all races. So I'm sure.
Oh my God. Is that
opportunities monster? Like it.
Is that the next one? Is like Meg 3, the xenophobe.
Yeah, it's only
I only eat Chinese people.
But it was indiscriminately ate anyone. So it was.
At the risk of spoiling things about the books, I think we can safely say that in the books, Meg eats far more white people.
Well, because the books are not financed by China, so
no, but it is not an entirely white leading sort of cast in a book, is it? A book equivalent of a cast, but they mostly manage to kill white people, so a lot of them, just for variety.
Okay. We have to move on, because you just set my brain on another track, and I'm trying to think of a reverse racist shark, but never mind. Or just racist in the other direction shark. Only eat white people? But never mind. I just heard they taste better. But